So, how can a company with absolutely zero revenue, whose stock just took a hit, actually be a potential big winner? Well, today we're diving into the really fascinating story behind Taysha Gene Therapies' latest earnings call.
All right, here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with the numbers that left the market scratching its head. Then we'll get into management's story, which is all about looking past the financials. After that, we'll zoom out to see the bigger picture, and we'll wrap it all up with our own rating on the stock.
First up, the earnings snapshot. And right away, you can see this is a tale of two completely different numbers that, sent some really conflicting signals to investors.
So on one hand, Taysha was right in line with earnings expectations. A loss of 9 cents per share, no big surprise there for a clinical stage company. But it was that revenue line that really got everyone talking.
Yep, you're seeing that right. A big fat zero in revenue for the quarter. A complete miss against what analysts were expecting.
But, and this is a big but, here's the other side of that coin. Almost $300 million in cash. Management says that gives them enough runway to operate well into 2028. That's huge. So, you have these two numbers, right? Zero revenue, but $300 million in the bank. Which one did the market care about? Well, it focused on the zero. The stock dropped, and it just perfectly highlights that classic tension with these biotech companies. Today's numbers versus tomorrow's promise.
Okay, so that brings up the million-dollar question, or maybe the $0 question in this case. With no revenue, why does management sound so confident? Let's dig into their strategic narrative.
The answer, you see, isn't on an income statement. It's in the lab. The real value story here is all about the clinical pipeline and the regulatory wins they've been racking up for their lead candidate, TSHA 102.
Okay, this slide right here. This is the whole ballgame. This is management's entire argument. Look at this. Breakthrough therapy. That's not just some fancy phrase. That's the FDA saying, hey, we think this could be a really big deal, and we're going to work with you to move it along faster. Finalizing the trial design and getting the FDA to agree on an early look at the data, that just removes massive amounts of risk from their path to market.
And you can hear it straight from the CEO, Sean Rowland. He's not just talking about progress, he's talking about speed. Getting the green light from the FDA to maybe file for approval early, that is a monster catalyst for a company like this.
All right, so that's the company's story. Now let's zoom out a little bit and see how Taysha fits into the broader market and what the competition looks like.
Now, even with that recent dip after earnings, just look at this performance. Over the last year, TSHA has absolutely smoked the biotech index. That's not just random noise. It tells you that investors who are really digging into the science are betting big on the company's potential, not its current sales figures.
And this is why. This slide gets right to the heart of it. TSHA 102 isn't another pill to just manage symptoms. It's designed to be a one-time, disease-modifying gene therapy. We're talking about potentially restoring function. That is a whole different ballgame compared to the only other approved drug, which just treats the symptoms.
So we've got the numbers, we've got the story, we've got the context. What does it all mean for what happens next? That brings us to the next call.
The catalyst map here is super tight, which is actually great news because it means we're about to see a lot of action. The next 6 to 9 months are just packed with these make-or-break milestones, and it all kicks off this quarter when they dose the first patient in their big trial. That's the moment it all becomes real. So the path forward is crystal clear. It's all about execution. They've got to get the patients enrolled, run the trial flawlessly, and hit that 6-month data point. If the results are good, that accelerated BLA submission, the formal application to the FDA, becomes a very, very real possibility.
All right, so for our call, we are rating Taysha as outperform. Here's our thinking. The market got hung up on a zero revenue quarter that, frankly, everyone should have seen coming. We think it's mispricing the incredible progress they've made with regulators and how much they've de-risked their path to approval. The market sold the news. We see an opportunity.
This is not financial advice.